Canelo Alvarez, Dmirty Bivol is a good fight. Takes place Saturday, May 7th, Cinco de Mayo weekend. I'm going to respond to viewer comments left on a video that I did yesterday about the PBC DAZN deal. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report. Let's go. Like I said before, y'all, welcome back to the channel. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report. If you could be so kind, like, subscribe, bell icon for notification. Put the comments below. You guys have been great recently. This has been awesome. The engagement's on point. Like I said before at the top, I did a video essentially breaking down the deal between PBC, DAZN, what it meant for Canelo and the combatants involved. Got a lot of great comments on that video. Obviously, I wasn't clear enough about what I was trying to convey, so I want to address the comments. There's not too many of them, but they're all pretty good comments with the exception of one that I won't be even entertaining, but let's get right into it. Andrew AG, when and if Canelo beats Charlo and Benavidez, what are you going to say? I will say congratulations. I favor Canelo over Charlo and Benavidez. I think Benavidez would ultimately be the tougher fight, but I have Canelo figuring out a way to get that done. Not going to do full breakdowns, obviously, but those fights get made, I will cover them and I will break them down. I have Canelo favored right now to beat both those fighters. Canelo is giving up height, weight, and shout out to Andrew AG. Anyway, Boston George. Canelo is giving up height, weight, and reach versus his 7th undefeated champion. Canelo is putting himself in the clutch. If you pay attention to the sport of boxing, you're absolutely correct that this is a tough fight, hard stop. But giving up height and weight has not been something that's new to Canelo. Typically, he's a smaller guy when he gets in there, standing at 5'7". So whether he competes at 168, 175, or back in the day at 160, oftentimes some of the guys that or most of the guys he would fight would be bigger framed guys, bigger statured guys. Now, we know that Canelo's a thick neck, wide back having cat, but by and large, he's going to give up the height advantage. He gives it up against Benavidez, who stands at 6'2" versus 5'7", Bivol, who's 6 foot versus 5'7", Callum Smith and Rocky Fielding, 6'4" and 6'1" respectively. So Canelo's been giving up the height. That's not a new phenomenon. Shout out to Boston George. Bivol is relatively unknown. Bruh, tell me you don't know boxing. I know boxing, and I know who Dmirty Bivol is. I know when he last fought and who he last fought. I know his last 6 to 7 opponents right off the top of the melon. But I guess what I was really trying to say is Dmirty Bivol is relatively unknown stateside. And so if you didn't know this, Dmirty Bivol and Canelo Alvarez are fighting in Las Vegas, Nevada at T-Mobile Arena. That's already been established to have a venue. So comparatively speaking, if you put that fight, took Bivol out and put Benavidez there, or you put Charlo there, or you move the fight to Texas and put Benavidez or Charlo there, that fight would do bigger numbers stateside because that's where they're fighting than a Dmirty Bivol fight. That's facts. We know that Canelo has a built-in fan base, right? From Mexico, fought in the States a bunch, grew up under HBO, Mayweather undercards. So we know he has a following here in the States and in Mexico. Dmirty Bivol doesn't, but Charlo does and David Benavidez does. So you take that pairing with Canelo and those other two fighters versus Dmirty Bivol, they do better fights. So relative to Charlo and Benavidez, yeah, Dmirty Bivol is relatively unknown to the American fan base where this fight is taking place. I think that's a fair assessment. Shout out to you. Noel Rosales. Boxing news. My brother, with all due respect, how can you say Charlo is dodging Canelo or Benavidez? I never said that. I said that package over there on the other side, the Bivol Triple G package, who you didn't mention Triple G in your comment, is an easier package than Charlo Benavidez. I also think those fights will likely happen if they don't round robin each other from the PBC side. Bivol is clearly way better than Charlo. I don't know about way better. I think I'd argue that Dmirty Bivol has 19 fights versus Jamal Charlo, who has 32 fights, 22 knockouts. So he has more experience and more fights and more knockouts. And you say he's on the same level of Benavidez. Okay, I can get in bed with that a little bit. Just a different weight class, yep. Then something about Mayweather, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Mayweather's 45, he's a retired fighter. So yeah, debatable whether Bivol's way better than Charlo. Benavidez is definitely a monster and a huge dude, even at 168. But more importantly, the first portion of your comment is what I want to address. I'm not insinuating or accusing of Canelo of ducking anybody. That's floating around out there. I think he's making business decisions, and I think one or two of those fights will happen between Charlo and Benavidez from Canelo. I think it'll happen. Shout out to Boxing News. Gio, Charlo at 31 doesn't have the resume of a 25-year-old Canelo. Neither does Dmirty Bivol, and he's not going to. But they're fighting. Neither did Billy Joe Saunders, but they fought. Avni Yildirim didn't have the resume, but they fought. So that doesn't matter. None of that kind of stuff matters, right? They said PBC overprotected Charlo, even avoided Lara. Benavidez is way too inexperienced. I've already mentioned in this video. You said Benavidez is way too inexperienced. Bivol has 19 fights, 12 knockouts. Jamal Charlo has 32 fights. David Benavidez, I believe, has 22, 23 fights. Undefeated, former world champion. Lost his belt on the scale and to cocaine. So Bivol is the least experienced fighter between Charlo, Benavidez, Avni Yildirim had more experience than Bivol. Billy Joe Saunders had more experience than Bivol, but they all fought Canelo, with the exception of Benavidez and Charlo. So what experience are we? I'm confused by that. We're not talking about fight experience because that's just inaccurate. The numbers don't support your comment. And he continues to drain himself to 168. That's a good point. So Gio, David Benavidez has to figure out that he needs to spend money on a nutritionist. When he missed weight, his next fight, he came back and was hella drawn. He looked like shit on the scale. Goes back, the Kyron Davis fight, he looks way better on the scale, but he's never been a cut dude, real ripped dude, nothing like that. That's never been his style, but admittedly, yeah, he's killing himself to get to 68. But I think he'll stay there, and to your point, do we want a more comfortable David Benavidez, who I think would be better than Dmirty Bivol at 175 pounds fighting Canelo? You kind of, nuke your own argument there. But shout out to the comment. HD SNL Park. I don't understand how you can say he chose easier fights. Bivol is heavier weight class and undefeated champion in his prime. He's a higher risk than Charlo than Benavidez. Well, David Benavidez is bigger than Dmirty Bivol and cuts weight down to 168. He's a bigger puncher. He has better combination punching, shittier defense, admittedly, and it also is a fighter in his prime who's undefeated. I don't know. But by and large, I think that the comments are definitely dope. More than anything, I want to express this. Canelo is not ducking anybody, at least based on my assessment right now. I think he has questionable opponent selection, and I think he tries to do his best to make as much money possible without getting too damaged in fights. The comments are love, guys. You guys have been great. I definitely appreciate the engagement. This is your boy JG. Like I said before, Canelo Alvarez, Dmirty Bivol goes down Saturday, May 7th. That's a good fight. I look forward to that fight. I'm definitely going to break that fight down, the ins and outs, the tools each combatant could utilize to get it done. But, let's just keep up the discourse. Let's keep chopping it up. You guys keep coming by. Like I said before at the top, like, subscribe, bell icon for notification. This is your boy JG. Yeah.